mockers and critics who prophesize with your pen. And keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin. There's no telling who that it's naming, for the loser now will be later to win, for the times they are a-changing. Come senators, congressmen, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall, for he that gets hurt will be he who has stalled. The battle outside raging will soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, for the times they are a-changing. Mothers and fathers throughout the land, don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command.
Just want to say good morning, everyone. So good to see you all. We're starting with this song that I know some of you know. So if you do know it, we just want to invite you to sing along. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you high and lifted up, to see you high and lifted up, shine in the light of your glory, pour out your power and love as we sing holy, holy, holy. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. See you high and lifted up, shine in the light of your glory, pour out your power and love as we sing holy, holy, holy. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you.
Applause. Good morning, Unity. Hope everyone's having a fantastic, fantastic morning. Sing it with me. Don't be shy. It's going to be right there. Good morning. You guys look amazing, as always. Standing outside the door of love and mercy, you wonder if there's a place there for you. You know there's peace inside, but you're still searching for someone who understands the pain that you've been through. With the doors unlocked, the lights are on. What are you waiting Come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in. We keep snapping. You find a place of rest in the arms of spirit. God's waited so long for your homecoming day. God knows the peace you seek and the hurt you're feeling. Spirit wants to hold you and to wipe your tears away. Where the Father waits with open arms. God is calling out your name. Come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in. Well, there's room enough in the house of love for someone just like you. Come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in. Come on, Unity, sing with me. Come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in.
Good morning, everybody. So glad to see you all this morning. I'm Bev Spivey, joyfully ministering here with my husband, Reverend Lawrence Palmer. And 2 years ago today is when we immediately responded to all of the news that had everybody in turmoil all over the weekend. What's happening? There's a pandemic. It's COVID. You know, you can't even look at each other. And we have our band, of course, every week. So the band and Lawrence and I and John Guerin showed up here with Darby, who was new at that time, coming in as our director of operations. And we had church in this empty sanctuary 2 years ago. And I'm happy to say we are back.
Yes.
James McCoy, who's been with us all the way from the first day we opened here in 2010. James McCoy, our music director.
So good to see all of you. Good morning. Welcome. We have Mr. John Rose with us once again at the piano and the keyboard this morning. Mr. Orlando Machadito at the drum set. And of course, our featured soloist is Miss Danette Rivas. And let's see, we have music from Johnny Nash this morning and also from Cynthia Daniel Namad. There you go.
Cynthia's favorite. Many of our favorites.
She loves him.
I think you and Steve traveled to go see him somewhere, did you not? Very good. And the Showerdies as well. One of our favorite composers, because in addition to, tunes, the lyrics and the words are always so meaningful, so great. Well, a couple of things. Today, we want to invite everybody online to continue to join in from wherever you are. If you are local, we are asking everybody to come on back as we build this community once again, because what we've realized in these 2 years, and after that first Sunday of having the doors locked, we have had someone in the sanctuary. And after a few of you realized it was so difficult for Lawrence and I to be up here speaking to empty seats, and especially for the inspiration to flow through him as he gives the lesson, some of you started attending, and we sure thank you and appreciate that. And then a year ago, for Easter, we were on the reservation system. So we have progressively been adding seats, and now we feel it's very, very safe to be here with masks optional. If you would like to wear a mask, please do so. In Unity, we're very accepting. We don't have a dress policy. So masks and shorts, pants, sweaters, jackets, all is optional, hats, whatever. We just want you to come on back, because those of you who have been attending, some of you for a good solid year or more, don't really know our warm community as it had been. And we guarantee our warmth is still here. So we've started today. I think Michelle had the bright idea, why don't we get the name tags out? Let's get to know each other. So that's why we've asked you to put your name tag on and get to know each other. I think when we close at the end and stand up for our blessing, we'll just stand and look at each other. And then we are having coffee in the breezeway today for those who would like to stay and have a little bit of time to get to know each other. And then starting next Sunday, we will actually be in Fellowship Hall for a simple coffee time. So something to look forward to. And speaking of Fellowship Hall, you will see ads in our happenings that goes out. We are aware that all around town there are many versions of co-working space for those of you who do not like to work at home or can't work at home for whatever reason, and yet you need an office space to work from. We have 10 tables in Fellowship Hall. We've got lots of chairs. We are investigating the idea of co-working space. Ours would be a no frills, because in the market of co-working space, you can certainly find that space for $200 and more per month, where they have facilities and printers and all kinds of office equipment for you to use. Here, it would be bring your computer, bring your bottle of water, although I think we can spring for some water, and rent our space. We're thinking perhaps $99 a month, and you would have your table, and we would be open from 9 to 4, Monday through Friday, during the hours when Darby is here, and we would get somebody to staff it on Fridays. We have in our kitchen refrigerators and microwaves and hot water and even toaster ovens. So if you know someone who is looking for some co-working space, please pass that idea along. And if you yourself would like to get away from your home office and practice putting something on other than your pajamas, come on out. It's time to be back, because that leads me to our theme for this year. It's a new view in 22, isn't it? It's a new view. We're in an endemic phase because we are ready to end the pandemic. We are ready to support healing of all people on all fronts. So come on back for this new view in 22. And part of our view is to continue to hold our highest thoughts for the Ukraine. And Danette will be just a minute because we have another feature here. As we continue our highest thoughts for Ukraine, we know that that is something we can do. Hold the high watch, not fussing, not fuming, not being fearful, knowing that together we can give comfort and healing. So won't you each join me in reading and praying our prayer for protection for Ukraine, for peacekeepers. The light of God surrounds you. The love of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you. The presence of God watches over you. The mind of God guides you. The power of God abides in you. And the strength of God renews you. And so it is. And please join the Unity Movement at noon every day and recite and feel that prayer. And the other thing we're doing now in our new view, our monthly view this month is on Women's History Month. And we're going to take a little time each Sunday to consider some of the history women have brought to these wonderful United States of America. And here to share this morning is our former board member of 6 years and board president for 3, Rita DeRocher.
Good morning, Unity of Pompano. In honor of Women's History Month, I'm going to talk about Harriet Tubman. One of the original suffragettes who fought for women's rights alongside Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Harriet Tubman was born into slavery in March 1822 in Dorchester County, Maryland. Many of us have heard or read about Harriet Tubman's role as a conductor of the Underground Railroad in the mid-1800s. Known as Moses, she led at least 70 friends and relatives to freedom in Philadelphia and New York, and then to Canada after the passage of the Fugitive Slave Act in 1850. What many may not know is that Ms. Tubman worked for the Union Army as a cook, a nurse, an armed scout, and a spy, using the navigational skills she learned working on the farmlands of Maryland. She guided a successful raid at Combahee Ferry, Maryland, which freed more than 700 enslaved people. Upon retiring from the Army, Harriet Tubman joined the women's suffrage, becoming a prominent activist in the women's rights movement. Ms. Tubman helped establish a home for elderly and indigent African Americans. Becoming ill and nearly penniless, Ms. Tubman died in the home she established on March 10th, 1911. Ms. Tubman is an icon of courage and freedom, and she will be honored soon with her face on the $20 bill. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Rita. And now as we move into a time of meditation, let's listen to today's daily word for Sunday, March 13th. The word is light. The light of truth dissolves all darkness. A bird's cheerful song interrupts the quiet of the night. The dark sky grows lighter, and puffy clouds begin to glow with a beautiful shade of pink. Brilliant rays announce the sun's arrival. The sun peeks over the horizon, flooding the new day with light. Light dissolves darkness in my consciousness in a similar way. At a challenging time, my heart responds to the hopeful thought that this too shall pass. Hope grows into faith as my mind opens to divine wisdom that is always mine to claim. Guided by the dawning light of truth, I see the way forward and follow it with confidence. As surely as each new day brings a sunrise, my faith assures me the light of truth will dissolve the darkness of any obstacle I may face. From the New Testament scriptures, John 1:5, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. And so now let us prepare for a time of meditation, being led today by our chaplain, Shelley Francis.
The skin on the outside. I am not my age, I am not my race, my soul inside is light. I am light, I am light.
Let us now take this time to center with our breath, to take a deep breath in, and with a long, slow exhale out, we take time to center with our heart. As we take these deep breaths, we focus on the breath and in the area of our heart. For within our heart is where we get to feel the love of God. It's where our light lives. And as we continue to focus on this breath, we center with this heart, and we feel the love that is with each of us. It's with our heart that we get to connect with each other. And we feel this love for each other. As we connect with each other, we expand this love, this joy, this gratitude for this time together. as we listen to the sound of the bowl and we hear it fading off, we keep the energy of love in our heart, expanding it out throughout our day and reminding us that we're all connected. As we take time to return back to ourselves and enjoy our connection.
We'll conclude this time of prayer and meditation by singing Alleluia. 2, 3. Alleluia, 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 Alleluia.
Bring it on, everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. All I know, it's gonna be everything new. I'm through crying, I'm through waiting, I'm through hoping against a hope. I'm through longing for something gone that'll never return. Think I finally learned, so bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. All I know, it's gonna be everything new. I'm through grieving, I'm through dreaming that the life I had is ever come back. No more wishing on someone else's star that'll never be mine. I think it's time to bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. All I know is gonna be everything new. I've survived many times before, broken heart and slam the door. I'll be alright, yes I will once more, just as long as I can. I'm gonna rise again to bring it on. Everything new and everything different, everything true. And I am ready for the next thing to do. All I know is gonna be everything new. Bring it on, everything new and everything different, everything true. And I am ready for the next thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, band, as usual. Well, I'm absolutely delighted to be here up in front of you today, seeing more of you coming back. Bev and I have been excited all week long when we heard the numbers were going down with COVID and the terror was diminishing a little bit, and we could go with optional mask and then getting back in fellowship hall. I've missed seeing you for a little while after church. And I know that I used to tell everybody, I brag on you everywhere I go. And I tell people one of the things that used to happen here anyway is that we had to run people off to be able to lock the church up because you like being together so much. And that's fine. Stay as long as you want. We'll make it work. So we're excited about our outside moment today. And then next week we'll be back in Fellowship Hall, and it's going to be delightful even more. So glad you're here. I want to begin with a passage of Scripture from Luke chapter 18. People were also bringing babies to Jesus for him to place his hands on them. When the disciples saw this, they rebuked them. But Jesus called the children to him and said, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of God belongs to such as these. Truly I tell you, anyone who will not receive the kingdom of God like a little child will never enter it." Now, we're in a season of Lent, and we're not going to be doing Lent as traditionally it is done, as I've shared with you already. But one of the things that came to mind as I was thinking about Lent for months and months ago, is I remembered I taught a class one time about world religions. And one of the class times was on Buddhism. And I'm certainly no expert on Buddhism at all, but I do know a little bit about it to use as a basis for a lesson today, or actually for 3 lessons. In Buddhism, there's a word called Shoshin. In Zen Buddhism, it means beginner's mind. I was fascinated by this idea, beginner's mind. So I took it all apart like I often do. So what we're going to do during this time of Lent, at least part of Lent, we're going to look at beginner's eyes, beginner's heart, and beginner's mind as it relates to Lent. Never thought you'd make that connection, did you? But we'll see how it goes anyway. But beginner's mind refers to having an attitude of openness and eagerness and a lack of preconceptions when studying a subject, even when studying at an advanced level, just as a beginner would. So in addition to using beginner's mind, we're going to be using beginner's eyes, heart, and mind. Now, one of the things that happens as we live as human beings and as we grow up and as we experience out in the world is that we tend to solidify things. I read somewhere one time, and it makes perfect sense, that when a baby is born, a human baby is born, every one of them has the capacity, all the physical characteristics and the intellectual capabilities and everything else to speak any language that's spoken on earth. Now, if you take a little baby and put them in an American household, what are they going to speak? You're going to speak English. If they don't hear any other languages, what happens is everything about that language disappears out of their field of experience. So that it gets narrower and narrower, so that the only point of reference they have then is English. Pick a baby somewhere on earth, and the same is true. It's amazing to hear little ones who are bilingual. If a child grows up in a family where one parent speaks English, one that speaks Spanish, what's the child going to do? He's going to speak both, because he hears the sound of that language being played out, so he can pick it up and can use it. And it's amazing that we see those kind of things happening. But when we begin to solidify things, we miss things. One thing that's said about in Zen Buddhism is that in the beginner's mind there are many possibilities, but in the expert's there are few. So we begin to narrow it down. I was in a grocery store one time behind this lady, and she had a little girl in the cart, her little girl, and she must have been 2 years old. I don't think she was even 3. And she's at the checkout counter, and they have the thing where all the candy is and everything. And the little kid went, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And her mother said, "Okay, Spanish. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, Spanish." And the kid did it. It said French. Ripped off 10, counting to 10 in French. German. I don't know how to say, eight to nine different languages. This kid counted to 10 in every one of them. And I'm just sitting here amazed. You know, I can do Spanish, stumble through it a little bit, but what this little kid's doing. Now, why was that happening? Because that kid had been exposed to that experience of another language, and they picked it up, and they made it real for themselves. So the possibilities for that child were still open. He was still living in that beginner's eyes, being able to perceive things that are new and different and not set and eliminated. And that's something very powerful for us if we can get back to it and begin to cultivate that beginner's eyes, being able to perceive the world from a beginner's viewpoint, being able to perceive the world from many different viewpoints instead of just one. Sometimes people go through life and they go through this process of eliminating things and solidifying other things, and what comes to the surface is fear. Have you ever known anybody for whom everything was fearful? Getting in a car was fearful. Going somewhere was fearful. Airplane was fearful. Meeting a new person was fearful. Trying new food was fearful. Why does that happen? Because we let go of the beginner's perception and everything goes back to that one thing. And name the situation. We can do it with hurt. Have you known anybody who got hurt really badly emotionally? And every experience they had was characterized by hurt. They expected to be hurt no matter what was happening. They were afraid they were going to be hurt, so they lived in that way. Some people live in a state of confusion. I don't know what to do. I don't know what this means. I don't know where to go. I don't know who to talk to. And they live in that state because all those other possibilities have been eliminated, and they live in just that one. There are a lot of people that do that. And you've probably known those people, too, who seem to be an expert in everything, or at least they think they are. Have you ever tried to convince someone like that something else is true besides what they think is true? Good luck. Because those possibilities are gone, and it comes back to that one thing. So you can see the difference in our living in with beginner's eyes and living like we're an expert in the world, and possibilities are gone. I would say that living with beginner's eyes is much better. So let's see what's going to happen during this time of Lent as we focus on this matter of being a beginner. Now, I want to make sure you understand that the beginner's eyes is not something you get. It's not something you cultivate. It's not something you develop. It is something that is our natural state. And one of the things I liked about Buddhism and parts of Buddhism, Buddhism is like other things. There are different varieties of it. But one thing about Buddhism is it's not about getting. It's not about gaining. It's not about healing. It's not about forgiving. It's mostly about being. Just being. Not all this other complicated stuff. That simple beginner's place of being. And we're going to look at that a lot during this time of Lent. So we're not trying to acquire something. We're not trying to get something we don't have. We're not trying to get more than somebody else has. We're not trying to make ourselves look good. We're trying to experience, and even that is a misnomer. We're not trying to experience being. We are being. So it's a matter of allowing ourselves to be, not trying to, not make it happen, but being in whatever situation we're in, and let that be absolutely real for us. So let me give you a few suggestions about playing with this, because some of you look at me like, what is he talking about? How do we actually implement beginner's eyes? How do we actually perceive the world from that beginning point without all this other stuff going into it? Let me give you some suggestions. One has to do with your breath. Now, this is something that everybody does. If you meet somebody who's not breathing, you would know it. But how often do you pay attention to your breath? I suspect the only time you ever pay attention to your breath is when you're out of it, right? When you've been exerting yourself and you're breathing really hard and you're paying attention to that breath. What about when that's not happening? What about in this ordinary moment right now? Let's practice being and practice that beginner's perception of your breath. Now for just a moment, just be aware of your breath. Don't breathe, just be aware of your breath. One of the things I've discovered is when I get to a certain place in relaxation and meditation, I feel like I'm being breathed. and I'm not even doing anything. But just pay attention and see how it feels when you breathe in. If you breathe in through your mouth, feel the air moving down your esophagus, down your windpipe, into your lungs. Feel your lungs expanding, and just let them be there. Notice what it feels like when you exhale. Now inhale through your nose and see how that feels. Exhale through your nose. Take a deep, 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 deep breath. See how that feels. And exhale really slowly and see how that feels. You can turn this into a meditation simply by being where you are, being who and what you are, and perceiving your breath moving in and out, in and out. And again, you're not evaluating, oh, that was a good breath. Oh, that one wasn't deep enough. You're not trying to classify it. You're simply experiencing it, watching it, being it. So you can take that with you and use that this week, watching your breath. Anytime you don't have something else to do, then pay attention to your breath. Another term that we use quite a bit in Unity, you hear it a lot, is grounding. That's something else that you can do from this beginner's eyes. When's the last time some of you had grass underneath your bare feet? That's scary. Come on, let me know. Seriously, how many of you had grass under your feet in the past week? Oh, I feel better now. All right. Your bodies are starving for the earth's energy. But grounding means you're connected. So I'm not talking about getting grounded, being more grounded, less grounded, doing it right, doing it wrong. Simply the experience of being grounded in a moment and letting your beginner's eyes, your beginner's perception, see what that's like. So let's imagine you're standing on some grass in your yard or somebody else's yard. How does it feel underneath your feet? Just notice how that feels. Don't qualify it, don't quantify it, evaluate it. Just say, oh, okay, here it is. I feel that. I'm grounded. I can feel the connection with the energy of the earth. Then you might try it on sand. Go to the beach and walk along and just experience it, of being grounded to the earth. You might do it sometime in the mud. Find a mud puddle and step into it and see how that feels to be grounded there. So being grounded is another experience where you can utilize your beginner's eyes, your perception of what's going on around you, and just in a very, very simple way, let it be that way. And when it's over, you can begin to say, wow, how did that feel? Another thing you can do with this beginner's eyes is observation. I love to watch people. It's amazing how, when people don't know they're being watched, what goes on. I won't tell you some of the stories I've seen, but observing what's going on in the world. And again, just like you've done already with your breath and being grounded, not saying, oh, that's a good thing or that's a bad thing, or he shouldn't do that or she should do that, but simply observing what's going on around you. There are people moving around you, or maybe there are no people. There may be a squirrel run along in front of you, or a dog barks, or a bird sings. You might notice a tiny, slight breeze on your face that you didn't notice before because you're observing. This is the beginner's eyes. This is a perception of your world through that beginning place of being open and accepting and neutral about the things that are around you. Now, there's a point in this besides just doing it or just having this experience. There's one more, and that is looking at yourself, perceiving yourself. Now, if somebody walked up to you and said, who are you? What do you usually say? We have different ways of identifying it. You say, most of the time, you tell your name, and I'm Lawrence Palmer. Like that's supposed to make some difference to them. Unless you're just really famous, that doesn't make a whole lot of difference. Or you might say, well, I'm so-and-so's son or daughter. I'm so-and-so's husband or wife. I'm so-and-so's CEO of the company, whatever. Notice what those things are that you would use to identify yourself and let go of them. Who would you be? Let's say you always introduce yourself as the first step. Who would you be if you didn't have the name? If you had no name at all, who would you be then? How would you observe yourself? How would you see yourself then? Well, you might go back to family then if you don't have a name. You're somebody's family member. Or what if you had no family? And keep going right down the line. Every time something comes up that identifies yourself, that limits yourself, let go of it and say, okay, what's next? Remember, this is about being. It's not about getting. It's not about doing. It's about being. And when you start eliminating those things that you usually use to identify yourself, you get closer to who you really are. And it may be that who you are is totally quiet being in this space right here, right now, grounded to the earth, being aware of what's going on around you, and that's it. When's the last time you experienced that? For most people, it would be a while, and for some people, never. So it's a worthwhile adventure. Now remember that this is taking us to Easter. Every week we're going through this time of Lent, preparing ourselves for the deeper experience of Easter. And if you experience Easter right now, as you are now, don't you think it would be different than if you experienced Easter from this place of beginner's eyes, of seeing yourself in your essence, not all the accoutrements and not all the labels and the titles and all the things we hang on ourselves. Without all of that, what would you be? What would Easter be like if you experienced it from that viewpoint? I hope some of you are going to experience that and find out what that means. So we're going to be beginners once again. We're going to go back to that place of innocence, that place of openness, that place of willingness to see things that we haven't seen in a while. Remember that the beginner is open to all kinds of possibilities. This past Easter, we were dyeing Easter eggs with the grandkids, and they'd never done it before. I guess Leah she was 3, and the little one was a little over 1. So we had them up on stools by the cabinet doing things, and I remember put a yellow egg in the yellow dye. And when I took it out, Nathan, the youngest one, said, "Wow!" And I just almost, it moved me to tears to hear that absolutely authentic amazement. Wow! Over a yellow egg. That's beginner's eyes. Being able to see wonder in the simplest things and not having to define it. We didn't stop and say, okay, now what color yellow is this? How long did it take to get that color? What are we going to do with it now? It was just, wow! I lived that over and over and over again. I will promise you, if you'll find 6 ways to say wow every day, it will make Lent different, and it will make Easter different, and it will make your life different. Going to that place of being a beginner. It's not something that we run from. It's not something that's bad. It's not something we need to get rid of. It's not something we need to polish. It's not something we need to change. It's something for us to experience. The beginner's eyes, the beginner's perception of the world, your place in it, and everybody else here too. Being able to see it with openness, with eagerness, with excitement, and being willing and able on occasion just to say, wow, because of what you're perceiving with the beginner's mind. Now, you won't find many experts who say wow very often. Because an expert's going to look at something and say, oh, I know how that works. It does like this, and this is connected with that. And then you push this button and whatever else. They don't say, wow. There's something wonderful about that. There's something so delicious about having a beginner's eyes and being able to perceive things from that essential viewpoint. Kids see things so very different. It reminds me of a story. In Sunday school one morning, the Sunday school teacher was talking about Mary and Joseph going to Jerusalem. And the Sunday school teacher said, well, do you wonder why Mary and Joseph took Jesus with them to Jerusalem? And one of the kids said, yeah. They couldn't get a babysitter. Now, what expert would have said that, right? But with beginner's eyes, you can see that possibility. And that's funny. Come on, you know? Needing a babysitter, that's way out there somewhere. It's simple. It's pure. That's where we need to live. That's where we can live. So I want to challenge you again this week as we are in this season of Lent that you use this idea of beginner's eyes to make this week different and make Easter different this year than ever before. So during this week, I challenge you to take time to just observe your breath. Watch your breath. Don't try to change it. Don't try to make it do something else. Just watch that breath happening. Let it happen and see what comes up for you. You may discover something you've never, ever experienced before. Take some time to be grounded on the earth. Put your bare feet in the grass, in the dirt, in the sand. Take time to lay on your back and hold your feet up in the air and let the wind blow on them. All kinds of things can happen there because you're not an expert. You're a beginner, and the world is wide open for you. And then just watch the world. Watch people running around you. Oh, I was going to tell you a story about people. When I was just out of high school, I had a buddy. And we went up to Memphis, Tennessee together. And went to, back then, this is when malls were really big stuff. And this was many years ago. And there was this nice mall, and it had, every once in a while, it had this sunken place in it with benches. And I guess that's where the guys went to wait for their wives to get through shopping. That'll get me in trouble. But we were walking along with my buddy, and we came close to one of those things, and this really pretty girl walked by. And my buddy did this one. And as he was looking at the pretty girl, he stepped off into one of those sunken areas in the mall, and there was a whole bench of old men sitting there. And they all just kind of looked at each other and looked at him, and he was very pale, and he was very red when he got up. He was enjoying a beginner's perspective of things, I'm sure. So watch what goes on around you. You might find something to say wow about. Might find something that becomes a favorite of yours that you've never seen before, you've never experienced before, you've never perceived before. The possibility is there. And then the challenging one is taking a look at yourself. Looking at yourself from a beginner's perspective, a beginner's perception. Let go of your name, let go of your title, let go of your status, let go of your position, and see what do you end up with. If you do away with all those things, what's left for the beginner to look at? What is it that the beginner can perceive without all those societal assigned labels and positions? Give it a whirl and see what happens. You may experience Easter this year from a place you've never, ever been before. So let me close as I started. Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of God belongs to such as these. Truly I tell you, anyone who will not receive the kingdom of God like a little child will never end it. Happy beginning.
I suppose it's going to be a lab at our house this week. My suggestion is going to be, while you have your bare feet out there on the patio and along the plantings, you just take some pruning shears with you and maybe a trash bag. And that's the Virgo in me. Not beginner's mind. We do hope you've had a wonderful time thinking and hearing our music and just experiencing fellowship time here. This is our time for giving. Those of you at home, on our website, unitypompanobeach.org, there is a handy-dandy donate button. We ask you to please give, show your appreciation for our online services, and we are happy to continue that as we develop a hybrid way of having this spiritual community. Our power hour every Sunday morning at 9:30 is hybrid. We meet in person in Fellowship Hall, but also online. So check out our website for everything that's going on. And meanwhile, you have our deepest appreciation for support here. Those in leadership here, and Lawrence and I definitely pour our finances into this place as well. And we thank everybody who has the ability to participate in some financial way as we keep rolling along here and serving our greater community with the unity message. So won't you hold what your gift is today, if you've already contributed on a monthly basis, as several of you do. Just know, think about that gift, and let's bless our offering together divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
So we know all of you are going to know this song we're about to do. So like I said before, feel free to sing along. 3 bars.
I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Come on. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. Yeah. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. Sing it with us, Unity, come on. I think I can make it now, the pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is the rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. Come on. Look all around, there's nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, there's nothing but blue Come on. I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. Come on, Unity. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. Come on. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. Last one, Unity, I wanna hear you. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day.
And on this bright, sunshiny day, we invite you, as soon as the service is over, you can go through either of these doors and have some coffee or stand and just mingle a little bit. We will use names. Is that okay to say our names with our beginner's mind? Never mind. It went right over him. Never mind. This happens a lot at our house. We do really appreciate all of you who have been coming and those of you who are coming back, and we want to get to know each other on a first name basis again. So that's why we had the name tags out today. And if you didn't get one, feel free to just tell us your name. Before we close, for our prayer for protection, I'd ask you all to stand, please. And as we stand, look around, because these are the faces we haven't seen in a while. And I'm asking our board members if you either come to an aisle or wave your hands around. We had our first board meeting of the new season this month. And our officers, I want to introduce to you. Coming across the aisle is Carmela Garone, who's going to be serving as president this year. And following her is Bob Wilson, taking the vice president spot. And our new members who are here today are Michelle Anderson and Ann Poole. And our other two officers, they'll be coming one of these weeks. Laura Newman is staying in the spot of secretary, and our treasurer will be John Dolan. So that's our board for this year. So let's all join together in our unity blessing as we close today. The light of God surrounds us. We are the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love of God. The power of God protects us. We are the power of God. And the presence of God watches over us. We are the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joy as well. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with Have an amazing, amazing, beautiful Sunday, Unity. See you next weekend.
Blessings are falling, are falling, are falling. Blessings are falling like a sweet, sweet rain. Blessings are falling, are falling, are falling on me. Beauty is falling, is falling, is falling. Beauty is falling like a sweet, sweet rain. Beauty is falling, is falling, is falling on me. Oh Lord, I receive your blessing. Oh Lord, I receive your grace. Oh Lord, I will dance forevermore. Oh Lord, I receive your blessing. Oh Lord, I receive your